Okay, everybody, so we'll start the afternoon session. You had a little bit of music there to bring you back in. So we're very lucky to have Adrian Edmonds here, who's got some fantastic presentation material, which we'll let him press on with very shortly. Just one request, when you're asking your questions, which obviously come at the end of each session, please A, use the microphone because it's recorded, and B, could you give your name and where you're from, so it just puts it in context for everybody else. Otherwise, please keep them coming. Adrian, over to you. Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, I'm from Scanetic. We're a relatively young company, been going about a year now. About 5 years ago, I looked at Apple and what they were doing with 3D maps and started doing some research and stumbled across some guys in California that had just received some funding to effectively produce 3D models using infrared cameras and overlay photographs. An end-to-end capture solution is how they call it. And this is it. So I'm going to, So this is the auditorium we're in now. Okay. So this basically is captured through, you position the camera, you move it around, it spins around, and move it around, and you capture the space. And once you've captured the space, and this took about 15 to 20 minutes, it gets processed on the cloud, and then you can embed it straight into a website. You can asset tag things, so I just tagged that just as something in the room. You can have a floor plan, so you can fly straight out to a floor plan. You can measure, you can annotate, and you can embed it into Nigel's software very easily. That's kind of it in a nutshell. There's not much. There are lots of features coming soon. For example, the tagging that we're doing currently is only 140 characters. By the end of the year, that will be full HTML, so when integrated into CRM solutions, you can jump back and forth, you can click on links, you can do all sorts of stuff. But at the moment, it's getting there. Next month, it'll be a photograph and a paragraph, and by the end of the year, it will be, as I say, a full HTML integration. You can also put on a Gear VR and walk around the space as if you're there. That may not be of interest to a lot of people, but it's kind of cool. What else? I can show you the... no, I can't. Here we go. This is what we call our workshop mode. It uses a Unity plugin at the moment because we're rebuilding it using XML. But at the moment, because Google have sort of thrown out plugins, we're having to use Firefox. And basically, this is where you can measure and annotate and introduce the tagging. You can capture snapshots. And it's all done very easily through this web browser. As I say, you can embed it straight into a website using a bit of iframe code. It's very quick, very easy. We deliver within 24 hours the iframe code to whoever it's for. Where is it? Okay. So this is obviously where we are now. We have various social integration features. Along with Google Analytics, we can track who's used it, how many unique views, page views, etc. The sort of standard stuff you'd expect. But I was lucky enough to be allowed upstairs last week when it was sunny. So that's it when it's sunny up there, when it's not revolving. What else can I say about it? Anything else, Tony? Okay, good question. The upstairs took about half an hour. Would have been quicker, but I was sort of kind of looking out the window and enjoying the view. It's downstairs It's about continuity. If you're creating a movie, you want things to stay in the same location. If you're scanning here and then you move over here, and someone moves that, then it kind of can spoil the illusion. Now, it's not necessarily essential, but if someone moved those chairs, that might have an issue because it uses infrared to work out where it is. So if it bounces a signal off of those chairs and then you move those chairs, then it might not work out where it is. But effectively, it's very quick and very easy to do, and because of that, it's very cost effective. And it basically means that we can produce a library of buildings that you can access with a mouse or a VR headset from wherever you are. So if you have, I don't know, 15 buildings in Manchester that you need to go and visit for whatever reason, you might not need to. So you can save time and money by staying in your office and walking around with a mouse. Any other questions? You can. It's accurate to 1%. Hang on, where's the? Here we go. So in here, in this mode here, we can go inside, and we can measure. So that's that, and I can just switch it to metric. Okay, and that's a dimension. You can also annotate as well, so I can label things. So I might want to, I don't know, give the whole room a name or whatever it might be. That's a good question. It's a fine balance between, obviously, the quality of the model and the size of the file. It's all hosted on the cloud, so the size is kind of largely irrelevant. When we finish scanning and we upload the file, then you can tell how big it is by how long it takes to upload. You can download the OBJ file, which you can pull in to various point cloud solutions, so you can open it in Rhino or Revit or any of these tools. We don't have much of a call for that at this stage, but people have expressed an interest in that. Most of the interest we're getting is, of course, from real estate sales and commercial sales as well. Well, the information is gathered. We have a camera, which is basically 3 rows of sensors, which you sit on a tripod. We control it from an iPad, and it rotates 360 in 60 seconds. And then you start to build up a map on the iPad, and then you move it to somewhere over here, and then you move it somewhere over there. And then when you have a complete floor coverage, you then just upload the model to the cloud, and then we send out the preview code within 24 hours. Excuse me? The demo is not on the site yet. I can send people. We've got plenty of stuff on our site. I was still waiting for permission from BT to send this out. Well, I know Karen's been very busy, so I didn't want to just send it out without her consent, because she was kind enough to let me upstairs when that wasn't the plan.
Keep it secure, because of course people, I know we work our security team whenever we're doing projects or giving out access to even floor plans. Get quite nervous.
Well, that's a question we've a while ago. Someone said to us, an estate agent said, basically what you're doing is you're giving a route map to a burglar, and my argument to that was, well, if there's photographs in a floor plan, then the burglar's going to find it just as easily. But you can switch elements of it on and off, or you can switch it off altogether.
We store, I suppose my question was geared more towards when you said it was on the cloud, just wondering whether there were different places you could store them.
You can cache it. The files at the moment are kept on the cloud in California. We are looking to replicate that system in Europe so that we can start talking to the MOD, people like that. But you can also cache the models. We've just developed an iPad app which enables you to cache the models, so you can walk around without an internet connection. We're talking to another company that are looking to develop an app for us that uses the accelerometer in the iPad, so you can literally look around like that, a bit much like augmented reality. But in terms of secure, a lot of people say, what happens if the cloud goes down? If it's cached, then it's fine. But you know, I mean, that's a question I couldn't answer. You know, if it goes down, then it goes down. But then if the internet goes down, the internet goes down. So, you know, it's anything else?
Is it tethered to Google Maps? So, for example, would that recognise where you are on the map?
We can overlay. We've stayed away from that because Google Street View, of course, embeds everything they do in their map, whether you like it or not. So we've stayed away from that. If people particularly have that requirement, we can build a mask that overlays. We also have a map system that we can drop pins onto if that's what you want. But because that's what Google do, we've kind of sort of stayed away from that a little bit and sort of tried to focus on what we do as opposed to what they do. And because this is a vector model, it's a real wireframe model, which is why you can annotate and measure, and why the VR works so well. With Google, it's just a series of photographs just stitched together very cleverly, so you don't have any real depth. So you couldn't sort of measure very well with Google, and the VR isn't as good.
You say that you have thinking on having this on an iPad.
Mm-hmm.
You have also thinking on having an API that makes this talk to a KFM tool.
Say again, sorry?
Have an API, the public.
Well, yes, the guys in California are looking to introduce that. It's a bit down the roadmap, but you're right, that opens up a world of possibilities.
And is there a chance of overlay information over this? For example, when you see an asset there, you press on it over the asset, open a window.
Well, that's exactly what's going to happen. Is when at the end of this year, when we click on we click on an asset. Then instead of just getting this simple window, we'll have a panel that comes out from the right-hand side that's populated with a lot more information. That could be links, it could be email addresses. So if in conjunction with something like Nigel's software, you might want to click on something in there which takes you to a different part of their software and vice versa. Exactly, yeah. It could be that, you know, where do you get the consumables for a photocopier, or this is the location they found this dinosaur, or whatever, or anything. It could be anything. BIM, in the sense that you can pull this sort of information into BIM. BIM obviously is for new builds, and a lot of the functionality that you'll find with something like this, if the building's been modelled in Revit or something like that, then a lot of this already exists. But for stuff that already exists and there isn't a BIM model for it, this can capture a lot of that data and be sort of pulled in retrospectively.
Here you are seeing just rooms. Is there any limitation of the size? You couldn't have entire buildings?
We have done entire buildings. At the moment, 200 sweeps is what we sort of kind of set the limit on. We have gone over that. We did a building in Hanover Square where we went to sort of 250, and that was fine. It's really the limits of the internet, the speed, the loading speed, plus the sort of the model handling, the graphics effectively. But there is and there isn't a limit. We're working on it all the time to try and increase that. And particularly when you produce the VR from it, we remove certain sweeps to lighten it down. Because if you're stood with a headset on and one of the scans is against the wall, then when you look around, it can make you feel quite nauseous. So we strip out a lot of the scans anyway, and then you can literally just look at the rings on the floor, and then when you engage it with your eyes, it'll morph you towards it.
Is it your company, is it your people who actually deploy the camera activity?
Currently, we are very new, and we're looking at all sorts of ways to scale this as a technology. We're looking for strategic partners, for people that already have infrastructure that would help. There's a good overlap. We're talking with a couple of companies that currently provide similar services that already have the infrastructure, so that we can provide them with the tech, do all the processing, so we don't have to manage. We can scale quickly. We're talking to one of the big three portals. Of course, they want to know that we can cover the UK instantly, and so that's how do you scale has always been the problem. Now we're finding these strategic partnerships, and we think that's the way forward.
And so once you've taken the image to then it being live and being accessible, what's the time lag in that?
For example, when I scanned this place, the model was ready within an hour.
Okay. So it could almost be live technology.
Yeah. We always say within 24 hours, because we can then send a preview scan for you to check to make sure you're happy. For example, when I did outside, I didn't know whether I'd got too close to the security section, which obviously they didn't want to be recorded, so you sort of send them the preview out, they look at it, they're happy with it. You can also capture stills along the bottom, so we have these highlights down here, which were introduced as a direct result of realtors in the US saying, you're taking away our control. This is an opportunity to introduce perhaps some key elements to the space that you might want to point out, so you can, and it might be a fireplace or a view or again anything, and then you can literally just press play, and then it just jumps from still to still, and then at any stage you can grab hold of it and get involved. Have you considered overseas offices? You're trying to get rid of me? Okay, well, we're actually off to Germany next month to scan some universities. We've had an inquiry in Barbados, which obviously I'll go to. But yeah, no, the short answer is we're young and we'll go anywhere if you pay us.
And what's the minimum size space that you can scan? So like in a confined space where you can't send a person, I'm assuming you can put this thing, if you can reach in.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't done anything tight. I mean, the camera itself is probably about that by that, sits on a tripod, so I could put it in a little cupboard and it could spin around.
You could also could you put it on a mobile device?
Well, there's a project. There's a project happening at the moment in California called Project Tango. I don't know if any of you have heard of it. It's basically about bringing 3D capture to handsets. And I suppose the analogy is that a lot of cell phones have cameras now, but if you're a pro, you use an SLR. Google are obviously trying to deliver this technology. It's 2 sensors as opposed to our 3 rows of 5. So it isn't as good, but ultimately, everyone wants to put everything in a handset these days. So yeah, in sort of probably 5-10 years' time, there will be solutions like that out there. Yeah, well, the short answer to that is how often do you want us to update it? If it's retail, then every time you sort of change the lease, that might make sense. If it's resi, you might not want to do that so often. But you can go in and we scan 21 Hanover Square, and on the ground floor they've got a shop, and then they've got 2 offices, and then they've got a flat above. Now, if they change that shop to something else, then we could go in, switch that part of the scan off, redo that scan, and then upload that. So we're not there all day scanning the whole space again. So it's very easy to sort of switch bits out and drop in new bits.
How does the pricing model work?
Excuse me? The pricing, we've played around with all sorts of pricing models, but per room, per square foot. A square foot rate works great at the smaller end. When you scale that up, then it becomes enormous. So we put in sliding scales. It's a volume game. We're trying to keep the prices down. It's quick. We're in, out. It's that sort of end-to-end solution that we can go in and scan it and be on your desktop within 24 hours. So we want to keep the prices down as much as we can. So, I mean, we're yeah. I mean, for the commercial stuff, it's between 25 and 5p a square foot. So it's, we like to think it's cheap or cost effective or value for money.
Value for money.
Value for money. That's it. Anywhere and everywhere. I've mastered the art now of not getting caught in mirrors or reflections. In fact, when I scanned here, what I should have done is just stood here, and then I could have actually been in the scan, but, I thought about that yesterday. No, honestly, I was diving behind pillars, and then you get caught in a reflection or someone. The worst bit is when you're doing a space where it's not a completely controlled environment, like out there, and someone walks past and they're looking at it. Or if you go outside to go around the outside of a building, you can't stop. You can't stop people just wandering up to it and staring at it. So it can be frustrating. I just tell them it's theodolite now. Mm-hmm.
How does that work on certain centres then?
It uses effectively 3 rows of the Microsoft Connects, and so you need 10 feet proximity from any object for it to work out where it is, and then it overlays the photographs on top of that wireframe mesh that it builds up from that.
And what sort of centres is the mesh at?
I'm not sure.
I'm just wondering how that drives your accuracy.
That's a good question. I've never been asked it before. I could find out for you.
I'm just sort of weighing up laser scanning.
Well, yeah, I mean, 10 millimeters over the average size of a building is what we say is the accuracy. Not necessarily good enough if you want to build a shard, but if you want to survey an existing building for some renovational works, or you just want it as a record, then they're more than good enough and a lot cheaper. A lot more cost effective.
Can you change the unit of measure? So, for example, you can do it in, say, metric, and you also go to
Feet?
and inches?
Yeah, you have the choice of feet and inches or metric.
Okay. And will it also calculate using things like RSS code measurement practice? So you can do NIA? Do you know what I mean by that?
I'm not 100% sure.
Okay.
But we can generate floor plans from it. Say again, sorry? You can if you download the OBJ file. You can pull it into, say, any of the 3D packages, and then you can introduce things. At the moment, the wireframe mesh is quite complex. So it can be, it's not difficult, but it's not as easy as working in SketchUp or I don't know, any other 3D models because of the number of faces that are there. But yeah, you can ultimately pull stuff in, and in the future, the intentions are to be able to switch out wall colors and to remove furniture and to stitch those holes back up so that you have this interactive model that you could eventually drop in furniture from various websites and do all sorts of stuff to try and enhance the experience that someone might have buying a house, so they can sit at home and buy their furniture and order it virtually in the house they haven't bought yet.
Adrian, I was looking at your model you did with the shard, and it actually had a person in there. Is that something you can pull up or not?
Yeah, I can get the shard up.
It's just fascinating to see what a person looks like when scanned.
You're thinking of your future now, and
I was going to work out where Nigel was sitting and tag him as an asset, but I thought he'd move around.
You can never pin in there.
That's right. I'm getting used to it, Nigel. So this is actually the office group. I think someone was discussing them this morning. We scanned this for them, and we're hoping that they sign off our scanning the rest of their portfolio. Oh yes, where he gets caught.
And then
Yeah, see, this is the continuity thing. Is obviously each time I jump forward is a different 60 seconds, whereas he's not got the memo and he keeps moving around. But the view isn't as good. I don't think. I'm not just saying that.
And when you did Hanover Square, I thought that you were downstairs, you go downstairs to the basement, it's really poor, isn't it? Great for condition survey, then you go up to a floor and then it suddenly gets...
Yeah, and then you got an apartment on the top floor. Where is that? That's...
And we just linked this into our system so you could then have this as a feature by touching the building.
It gives you the opportunity to go inside.
Yeah, it's almost like street view inside a building, isn't it?
So here we go. Have the...
First, the ground floor's quite plush, isn't it?
Yeah, so I can, for example, I can press play now, and then it will just walk me through the space, jumping from still to still. So it'll go down into the basement.
If you did a condition survey, you barcode it and you'd highlight that as being, not perfect. Obviously, you can barcode the high.
It's our new offices.
And the difference between the basement and the ground floor is amazing because it's almost like a shop there, isn't it, inside there?
So you scanned the outside though?
Yeah, we scanned just around from the front door into the B&O store, and then down the steps into the basement, just to give a bit of context. Again, because it's infrared, you can go outside, but you need something to bounce the signal off, so that 10 feet proximity. Also, people moving around, it's a relatively sort of uncontrolled environment, especially when cars are whizzing past. And also the sunlight, direct sunlight, can not play havoc, but it does make things a little bit difficult. But if you're clever and you get the right conditions, you can move around outside.
So have you devised a solution for the first floor and the second floor outside views?
Not yet. Short of a drone. But yeah, I mean, we haven't attached it to the underneath of a drone yet.
What's amazing, on that one there, if you zoomed into the book cabinet over the corners, and you can actually look at pictures, children.
This is Nigel's hobby.
You can even look in the waste paper bins to see what people are throwing away.
Are you looking for their utility bills?
Basically tell me now you can drag the document out to the waste paper bin.
I was reading those magazines. It's just amazing that a scan can do that.
Say again? Oh, and then of course you've got the floor plan, which you can dive through each floor.
It's almost, if you do it sideways on this, was like going down a lift, isn't it?
And if this was riddled with tags, then you could be looking at this and just, I don't know, navigating around through your stuff, Nigel, or any other. Anything else?
How much did the building go for?
I can't say, but loads of money. More than I've got, anyway.
Adrian, I think we're going to let you off the hook there.
Oh, thank you. Hopefully it wasn't too bad.